got one of the best. That's a nice segue. We've got one of the best fundraising auctioneers that we know, a friend of HGA's, a friend of Hey Nonprofits. Dan Lyles is here, world-class fundraising auctioneer to get into the weeds with us about the live auction. Can't thank Dan enough for coming. We've had a couple really great episodes recently with Dan, but appreciate everybody for coming. Thanks so much, Sandy, for putting this together. Our producer, Sandy Hilsenrath. My name's Trevor Nelson, and then I'll have Dan introduce himself and what he's doing and all that good stuff, and we'll get to the episode. So thanks so much for coming, Dan. Tell the folks about yourself if you don't mind.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Trevor. Well, first of all, you give me a big head there calling me world class. I don't know about that. I got a lot of reps in. I will say that. I've done a lot of events, but
that's what I'm saying.
World class, I don't know. We'll let my clients speak for me on that one. But thank you guys for having me, and thanks to everybody at Hey Nonprofits. I've done a couple now with Trevor, and I think they've been really good. I like doing them. So thank you guys for having me on the webinar.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, happy to do it. Love the interaction that we can get from the live audience in this setting. So folks, like I said, if this is your first time, it's great to meet you. If you're someone that's been here before, it's great to see you again. So we're going to get in the live auction. We're going to get into the weeds with a couple of really, really myopically focused ideas about the live auction. You and I are both very opinionated about it in a great way. So if everyone doesn't agree with us, that's okay too, because nothing but good is going to come out of it. But let's talk about just setup, Dan. Let's talk about the first things first when you're consulting with a client and setting up the live auction. What are some of the first things that you cover 90 days, 180 days out, before the event even takes place, so we can get folks off on the right foot?
All right. So I think the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to give a little value coming right out of the gate. So I found that a lot of nonprofits don't do this. It's often overlooked. And I think it's an easy way to pay for a professional fundraising auctioneer, because as you know, as much as we love your organizations, we don't do it for free. So there is a cost that comes with that. And so a good way to offset those costs is, and often overlooked, is get yourself a live auction sponsor. And not just get somebody to cover costs. Don't just find somebody that's going to put in the $5,000, $10,000 or whatever it's going to be. What you want to do is, often overlooked real estate, is the back of the bid card. So I know some people use their programs, but oftentimes we use like a half sheet of paper with a number on the front, bidder 1, 2, 3, for example, and then they'll put their own logo on the back of the bid card. Instead of doing that, find yourself a live auction sponsor like McDaniel's Auto, for instance. And then the auctioneer gets up there and says, "Hey, thanks to McDaniel's Auto, our live auction sponsor." You'll see the back of the bid card, and you can scan the QR code, see their website there. And the reason you do that is because outside of them being your presenting sponsor or having that sponsorship that you do, getting a live auction sponsor, they're carrying around their bid cards with the logo on the back. They're flashing it up and down during the live auction. Everybody's seeing that logo. Some people are taking them home. I just think it's prime real estate, and it's often overlooked. So I think that would be my first thing, adding value, is to say, hey, if you are looking as a new event trying, and you're like, I know I need to hire a professional fundraising auctioneer, I don't really have it in the budget, that's an easy way to offset the cost of a pro auctioneer, is just sell the back of the bid card. So we'll start with that.
I love it. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing because I think sponsorships and underwriting opportunities like that are, as you mentioned, very underutilized, overlooked. I love the real estate piece of the actual bid card itself. Let's get into the bid cards. I have a question about that.
Okay.
Are you of the impression, and this will have meaning later on in the conversation as well when we get in the live auction, the paddle raise component and thing like that, because they'll help each other, and we'll get into that. Do you think everyone in attendance should have their own bid card, have their own paddle?
I think at minimum, every couple or partnership needs to have a bid card. I do have an auctioneer buddy that insists on having everybody in the room to have their own bid card, and I think that's fine. But usually, if it's the lady wants to bid or the man wants to bid, they'll just take the bid card from the other person, or I'll just look at them and make jokes, and I'll be, I see who's got the power here, and then they'll bid without the card. So it's not that big of a deal to me. What is a deal breaker is that, yes, you must have bid cards for your event. If you don't have bid cards for your event, I'm going to sound really obnoxious when I say this, Trevor, and I'm sorry, but a lot of my fundraising auctioneers are the same with me. We won't even take auctions if they don't have bid cards. If they're like, no, we just insist on people using their hands, and that's just not for me. I find that my bidders I think there's psychology involved in this. I think they get addicted to their bid card. I think they want to be able to say they went to a live auction. I think they are just clamoring for an opportunity to raise their bid card. And all of that translates into more funds, because what you do in the live auction, getting them engaged in that. And I go through a series of things to try to get people engaged. All of that transfers over into the paddle raise, where, as you know, that's where you make the bulk of your revenue. So bid cards to me are a must.
Good. Like, while we're talking about it, because there's kind of a science behind it too. It's like, what are you proposing to folks if they have questions about bid cards, about making sure the numbers are big enough, making sure there's not a bunch of, extra on there, extra mumbo jumbo, so to speak. And then also, I like the idea, I've heard this before, the idea of recognizing certain people with different colors with the bid card, or it's like certain things where you can talk to me about that while we're just talking about the science of bid cards. And
Sure.
it's not a right or wrong answer. I'm just curious your take on it.
Yeah, that's new to me. I haven't seen recognizing people based off their bid cards. I'm assuming you wouldn't be like, our higher level donors get a special color. Is that what you mean?
Maybe legacy givers, folks that are
Oh,
involved
okay.
in like a
That's
monthly
cool.
recurring. Yeah.
I like
And
that.
yeah, we got to give credit where credit's due. Our friend Chris Hensley came up with the idea for legacy givers, and I kind of like was
Oh,
piggybacking on that with, why don't we give folks that are part of a branded monthly recurring program, not trying to color outside the lines with live
yeah.
auction, the live auction topic, but it is part of something where it's like, hey, and they have their, the special paddle or the special, bid card, for instance, just as a recognition piece, because people enjoy that, right? It's like just another giving.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that a lot. Thanks, Chris. I'm gonna steal that idea. It's funny
Yeah.
because an auctioneer took something recently from me
Yeah.
that when she and I had a conversation about it, she's like, "I stole this idea from you and I love it and it worked really well." And she's like, "Did you come up with it?" I was like, "No, I don't think I came up with it. I just kind of perfected it to how I do it." But
Yeah.
I told her, "Well, good artists copy and great artists steal." So Picasso said that. So thanks, Chris. I'm gonna steal that from you.
Absolutely. Well, and back to the sponsorship piece, like we said, is absolutely underutilized in so many ways throughout the entire event, and sponsoring, underwriting, everything. We like to say good auctioneers aren't cheap, and cheap auctioneers aren't good.
I
You're going to
like
have
that.
a live auction, you're going to have a paddle raise, fund a need, any combination therein. You need a professional fundraising auctioneer, someone like Dan, someone like
Mhm.
Chris Hensley, and then we have a lot of other friends that have come on the episodes, or on the pod and the webinars as well. They're friends of HGAs and friends of Hey Nonprofits. So just really want to put an exclamation point on that for
Yeah.
folks to consider as well.
I think this would be a good time. You were asking about the execution and how we should structure the live auction. So I know
Sure.
Sandy,
Yeah.
your producer, has a prompt question for us. So I think we
Yeah. Let's
should
get
tee that
going.
up right
Yeah.
now, Sandy. And then, best program flow. Okay, yeah, let's start with that one. Does it
Let's
have
do it.
answers? Do they see answers?
Oh yeah. Folks will have an option.
Oh, cool.
Uh,
Okay.
I
I think
believe. Let's take a look.
the
Yeah.
question is either doing the
Okay.
paddle race first and then the live auction, or live auction and paddle race, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm curious
Exactly.
to what people will say.
Yeah. Is this your org's first live auction? Was another poll question she popped up.
Mhm.
No, we have more than one under our belt. 100% of folks answered we have more than one. Oh, that's good. Great. Some
Cool.
experienced live auction folks. That's fantastic. So yeah, let's talk about just pre-event, setting it up, execution.
Mhm.
What was the prompt that you were looking for, Dan? We'll just go into that.
I was trying to find out if people say what's best for the format, if they like to do the paddle race first, followed by the live auction, or the live auction first, followed by the paddle race. So I don't know
Perfect.
what you've heard, or maybe what you talked to Chris about, but I have my own preference, and I think it
Oh
is
no, let's get
probably a
into it.
little bit of a preference thing.
Yeah, go. Let's get into it.
I'm
Absolutely.
I'm
Talk
curious to
about it.
what people said. Well, for me, I like doing the live auction first. As a
Okay.
fundraising auctioneer, I find that doing the live auction first, when we're talking to basically two different bidders, you're talking to the people that like and enjoy a live auction and want to get in that competition and want to raise their bid cards and want to play with people and want to play with the auctioneer. And then everybody else are the people that get involved in the paddle raise. They're the philanthropic bidders. They want to raise their bid card, but they're not going to get in a competition with other people in the live auction. So for me, I'm coming into an organization brand new. They don't know me. For all they know, I could just be an MC. They don't know if I'm tied into the organization. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to get up there and start asking for money. So what I need to do, and from a sales point of view, is I want to make myself likable to everybody. And I find that we do that through the live auction. So I think most fundraising auctioneers, that are more the engaging type. They're not the ones that are like staying on the stage, but they're the ones that like to get in the crowd, mess with people, enjoy the whole aspect of live auction. I find that helps me get not only credibility as an auctioneer, but it helps me to show people, hey, this is fun. This is exciting. It's enjoyable to bid on stuff. I'm not going to try to talk so fast that you can't understand me. I'm not going to let you know. I'm not going to try to stick you with something. It's very much like being a conductor. We're going to let people know who's in, who's out. It's your turn to bid so that they feel comfortable. Because what I found is when I do the live auction first, if I can get the people to like me, if I can start using the psychology of using your bid cards and people start doing that to get addicted to it, they're more likely when I make my second ask, which is the paddle raise, to put up their bid cards again. So that's why I like doing the live auction first, because if you flip it the other way, and I just come out on stage and it's the first time they've ever seen me, let's say I'm not emceeing the event and I come out there, hey, I'm Dan, I'm the fundraising auctioneer, give me your money. You know, that's what it feels like with a paddle raise. And so I have to figure out how to organically tie in the mission before I start asking for money. The live auction takes all that pressure off. I'll make myself likable. I'll make people feel comfortable and be like, oh, this is fun. I want to give, so that when I ask for the money in the paddle raise, they're more likely to do it. That's my thought.
Love when you got into that. I think you've gotten into it on the podcast that we did previously. And I think it's the first time I've ever heard anyone say that, where you were talking about just like once someone, because I've heard like a prepared bidder is a higher bidder. I think that's awesome. Absolutely. And things like this that really, really are thought provoking. But you said once, and it just makes so much sense from a psychological standpoint, just the behavior of once I've put my bid card, my paddle in the air once,
right,
it's going to, like, once again, human psychology dictates it's going to be easier for me to do it again. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. We have a terminology for that, because I've got a sales background. So we have a terminology for that in sales called foot in the door. But I want to talk about foot in the door effect if we talk about the multiples. But the foot in the door effect is basically what you're saying. It's like we'll get them to do it one time. They're more likely to do it again because they've already crossed that barrier.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's awesome. So, please, folks, take note of that. Once, and the poll ended at 50-50, Sandy said. So, as far as paddle raise first, fun and need first, or live auction.
Yeah.
But Dan really brings up a very, very interesting, once again, point about the behavior of it. It's like, once I've done it, it's like, I say, like, once the pain has been taken away, it's like, it's not as painful to go do it again. Right. It's like,
exactly.
Exactly. Right. So that's good. Hey, Sandy, a call for questions if you have any that were pre-submitted. Francesca has a question. Francesca, we do an online auction instead of a live auction. Is that a liability? Francesca, I mean, give us a little more context. It's good to see you, by the way, Francesca. Thanks so much for coming back. And Dan, I want to get your answer as well. My quick, just like off the cuff answer is I believe fundraising is an and game. So if you're considering having a live auction, but you already have an online auction, it's online auction and potentially a live auction would be a good way to look at it. But please give us a little more context, Dan, if you want to answer that just off the cuff. Your thoughts about that question as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if we're talking about virtual auctions here, because we are. Sure. There is a way you can add the element of virtual auction and kind of simulcast bidding with a zero latency platform to be able to do a live auction. We did that all through COVID. So in that case, if it was just online, sure, you can add in a live auction component.
Okay, gotcha. So Francesca followed up. Thanks, Francesca. We have a smaller group in attendance, but a larger online auction, a larger amount of bidders online. So. And you're not utilizing. How many folks are in attendance? Let's get further in the weeds, Francesca, so we can give Dan just some more context so we can answer. 200. Oh, I think. Well, I mean, once again, I'm not. I think you're prime for a live auction. But yeah, I mean, and if you have any questions, Francesca, about it, you want to spend some more time with Dan. And Dan, I want to hear your thoughts about that because there's 200 people in the audience and a bunch of online bidders. I think it's fantastic. But Francesca, any questions for Dan? We're going to send out the recording with contact info for Dan. You can also connect with him on LinkedIn. His profile's in the chat as well. But spend some more time with Dan after the episode as well, so you can get even further in it. But and roll up your sleeves on it. But Dan, thoughts about that? She's got 200 folks in attendance. I think.
Yeah, Francesca, you're prime for a live auction. I think you should absolutely do it, because at the end of the day, you're only talking to a handful of bidders that are going to do the live auction. You have plenty of people in the room. We look at it in terms of bidding units. So if you've got 200 people in the room, you have 100 bidders. So out of those 100 bidders, can you get the few that you need for the live auction? The answer is absolutely you can. And then everybody else is going to be a paddle raise bidder.
And Francesca, are you doing a paddle raise at the event? Just no live auction at the moment. That's my last question, I promise. Dan, we have a yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I will absolutely expand on that point by Dan. I absolutely think that you're prime to consider a live auction at least. Yeah, so that's
for sure.
good.
Yeah.
A great question from Kenzie. Kenzie, hope you're here. How you doing? Good to see you again. How would you recommend scheduling the following at a fundraising event to make the most money? Online, silent auction, live auction, reverse auction, paddle raise, last chance vacation giveaway for $50 or $100, a ticket. Thank you. That's a long question. Do you see that in the chat, Dan?
Oh, I got to look in the chat. So
no, I mean, if you, it's just, I can read it over to you, but that was a lot to cover. Yeah,
I got it, and then you can kind of expound on it if you like.
Yeah.
So are we talking about the structure of an event, like where we're putting the silent auction, live auction, paddle raise, raffles, things like that?
Maybe closing it down, stuff like that.
Yeah.
When we close out the silent auction,
there's
online.
A few schools of thought on this kind of thing. So the silent auction is best for the cocktail hour. So whatever time you're going to have guests come there, let's say you're going to have them come at 5:30, and the cocktail hour is going to last till 6:30 or 7 o'clock, where you're going to move them in for dinner. That's where you're going to have your silent auction. That's where you want to give people something that's going to engage them. Because the silent auction, though it can be good, it's still a small percentage of the revenue when we're talking about what we're going to make in the live and the paddle raise. But it's good for guests to be able to start that interaction and to already commit to give. And the reason I say this is because we were just talking about in a second how everything just kind of trickles into the paddle raise. But if you can have a good silent auction, and believe me, nonprofits, I know that it's a headache. I know that the procurement of the silent auction is not fun for any of you. I get it, but I do think it's a necessity. I do think there's some merit to it, because when you get people in there and they're sitting around and they're having a drink with their friends and they're socializing, and you give them something to do on an online platform, or they can see physical items and they can start bidding, if you can get them to engage there and bid, I'm more likely to get them to engage in the live auction because they've already spent. I'm more likely to get them engaged in the paddle raise. So believe me, I know it's a headache, but it is a necessity. And that money does not always transfer over. So if you decide to take out the silent auction, and your silent auction was bringing in $30,000, and you're like, oh, we don't want to do the procurement, we'll just make it up in the paddle raise. It doesn't work like that. I don't know why. I don't have any reasoning behind this, but for some reason, I do not see that money shift over. So I think it's a necessity. All right. So
no.
That being said, did you have a question on that?
No. I mean, I think there's, just talking about the silent, I think there's ways that you can absolutely, because Kenzie's saying they have 100 items in the silent/online auction portion. That's a lot, right? But I think that there can be ways, and I'm not saying don't do that, Kenzie. If it's working, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? As they say. But there's ways that you can get really, really strategic. A shameless plug, but you can use things like HGA auction items that you just save you time. They raise money. You don't have to do anything. The work's completely taken off your plate. And there's ways that you can get really, really deliberate about saving your team, especially if you're running lean teams and run lean shops, where you can get really, really deliberate with your time, because it does take a lot of people power.
It does.
But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Dan, about, I'm not a big fan of just like, okay, let's just chuck the silent auction out because it's so much work. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
I do think 100 items is too many. I think that you're going to spend a lot of time doing that and trying to invest in something that you don't need to invest in. I think a proper silent auction, we're talking 25 to 50 items max. And what I'm seeing more now, and not to plug you guys or anything, but I'm seeing more now.
I'm just kidding.
I just did this in my auction in December. The one I just did in December up in Raleigh, North Carolina. What they did was they reduced their silent auction to only 20 silent auction items. And then they did a super silent using HGA trips. And that super silent was like 5 items. And in the end, they ended up making more money. So you're just getting rid of all the baskets and the gift cards and stuff. And you're just pushing that into like good, proper silent auction items.
Great question, Jackie. Jackie, it's good to see you. Hello, Jackie.
There's a good poll that just came up. The ideal number of live auction items. We're
gonna segue this conversation into that as well. But Jackie had a question. Jackie had a question about 25 to 50 items max. Dan, question for you: is that dependent on guest count or regardless of guest count? Kind of give some feedback there.
I'm going to say regardless of guest count.
Okay.
I think that the people that participate in the silent auction is not going to be everybody. I think it just gives them something to do. You're going to make your money on it. But I think regardless of guest count, all you're going to do is create more action and more bidding on the fewer items that you have. And you're not going to spread that money across the board. So I still say, no matter your guest count, limit the number of silent auction items. I just think it becomes, at some point, diminishing returns. It just becomes overwhelming for the guests. You're just going to look at it and be like, I don't even know where to start. So
sometimes it's addition by subtraction. Sometimes.
There you go. Less is more.
And exactly. And donors are consumers at the end of the day. And consumers are doing a really bad job of like making decisions when they have too many things thrown at them. It's like, we call it paralysis by analysis. Exactly. So realize that donors are consumers at the end of the day. We don't need to color outside the line, so to speak, as far as how we're appealing to folks. They're the same people when they are at your event than when they're not at your event, when they're shopping and all that good stuff. But hey, so Jackie, thanks so much for the question. We have world-class fundraisers in the chat and a world-class fundraiser on the webinar with us today. So it's so cool to see everybody. Thank you so much.
So I'm worried about my auctioneer buddies jumping on and trying to hit me with a stumper.
No, I love it. I hope someone does. I think that's great. So Kenzie, I want to tie a bow on that, and then we'll pop up that question again as far as the ideal number of items, and we'll obviously segue that into selling multiples and the psychology of getting the paddles in the air and things of that nature as well. But Kenzie says that they pardon me, end the silent auction, online auction at 10 p.m. Any thoughts about that from you, Dan?
So we used to, and I'm using the term we because I've got buddies in this industry, and obviously we all have opinions and we all kind of do the same thing. And it used to be that we would say, you got to end the silent auction prior to the live auction. Because what happens is you get those bidders and they're tied up in multiple items and they have money here and money there and money here on this item in the silent auction, and they don't know what they've spent. And so the kind of school of thought was in the silent auction prior to the live auction, so everybody knows what they spent, and going into the live auction and paddle raise that they can then determine what they want to spend there. That used to be the rule. That used to be the standard. And all of us auctioneers push that hard. And what I've seen is a lot of people, the majority of my fundraisers have gone away from that, and they'll keep the silent auction open until the very end. And I've not found a decrease in revenue. Quite the opposite to be true. Yeah. Even when you leave your silent auction open until you can end it at the live auction, or you can keep it open through the end of the night. And then what happens is the bidding just carries on. People spend in the silent auction, they spend in the live auction, they spend in the paddle raise, and it doesn't matter one way or another if you close it out before the live or if you let it go to the end of the night.
I want to get some feedback, point taken, Dan, and I want to get some feedback from folks in the audience if they have any experience with reopening the online auction, so to speak, silent auction, synonymous, post-event, for instance. If it's a Saturday event, open, yes, and actually raising a lot of money, and re-offering items that, for instance, folks have the opportunity to sell multiples of. Another great segue.
Yes, that is a great segue. I've got a client that does that.
It's
Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. I'm giving them a plug down in Charleston. She was the first one I saw do this. And I was like, I'm going to steal that and give it to all my nonprofits, because what she did was, when I sold the multiples and I capped it, she went back and sent out a follow-up email after the event, post-event, and said, hey, did you miss out on this all-inclusive Mexico trip for $4,000? You can still get it now. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Yeah. Did you miss out on it? Maybe you were in the restroom. Maybe you were caught up in a conversation. Maybe you were in the back of the room at the bar, whatever. But folks, like it's different. It's novel. You can never underestimate the power of bright, shiny, and new. If someone hasn't seen your auction reopen the next day, for instance, it's another way to say thank you. You know what I mean? It's another way to say, hey, we're $12,000 away from our goal. Help us, that kind of stuff. It's so good. And we've seen a lot of success too from that. So really, really good. Great point, Dan. Thanks for sharing. And so, hey, great question, Bonnie. How many items would you recommend having in the live auction? We're going to get right into that. Sandy said the poll results were 2/3 of folks in attendance said 2 to 3 is the right amount. And then a third of folks in attendance said 5 to 7. Talk to us, Dan, about the perfect amount of live auction items.
Did anybody say more than 7 to 10 or more? Did you find that?
I don't think that was an option. That's a great question.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah. No, I want to hear it though. There's no right or wrong answer. I want to get into it.
Yeah. Okay. So we get this question a lot, and everybody always asks, and I've got some auctioneers, friends of mine, that are like, 7 to 10 is the number. I say 5 to 7 is the number. And the reason I do that is because if it's any less than 5, it doesn't give me enough opportunity as a fundraising auctioneer to banter with the audience, to use all my jokes, to make them laugh, to have a good time, to make myself likable. I think 5 is too few. And sometimes you get nonprofits that are like, no, we only have 3. And I'm like, okay, well, you could round this out by adding in a couple of consignment items. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second. But I think 5's too few because it doesn't give me enough time to warm up the crowd. I think anything past 7, so I always say 5 to 7 is prime for me. I think anything past 7, I can do it. It's not a problem, but eventually you're going to run into bidder fatigue. And I've done an auction before where we've done 16 items. And I know a lot of schools out there tend to do higher numbers. This wasn't a school auction. This was a major national nonprofit. And they did 16 items. And did it work? It did. I think you need a very engaging fundraising auctioneer to do that. If you're the type that stands on stage or you have an auctioneer like that, you're going to cause major bidder fatigue. So my recommendation is that you do 5 to 7 items. I've got some good ideas for you if you want to talk about that. But I think anything past that and you create bidder fatigue and people are like, okay, this is a little bit long. This guy's a little bit or this guy or gal's a little bit long-winded. And then by that time you get to the mission moment and the paddle raise, you kind of lost them. So that's kind of what I think's best, 5 to 7. Gotcha.
And then your theory is, of course, like 3.5 minutes per.
I always tell my clients it takes me about 2 minutes.
Oh,
so
okay.
I can yeah, I'm pretty quick. Now that's just an average because there are going to be items that get supreme like bidding and it's going to go wild, and that happens all the time.
But that's another thing.
I know Sandy had mentioned to me that we were the producers. We were talking about. I forgot what I was saying. That's okay. Live auction.
No, it's totally okay. Yeah,
I lost it.
No,
well, anyway,
but if it comes back to you, we're here, man. We got another half hour. It's good stuff. I got a great question from Francesca. And then, hey, everybody, just want to recommend, throw some more. We got, like I said, Dan, for about another half hour. Throw all your questions in the chat and we'll get to every single one that we possibly can. Okay. Francesca, thanks so much again for all the feedback and the questions. Dan, is there a formula for assigning an opening bid for an auction item, an opening bid amount, and then the bidding increments? Thank you so much for all you do. I always learn so much from these webinars. Oh, well,
that actually prompted me what I was trying to remember. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So what I was trying to say is the way I figure out where I'm going with these items and how long it's going to take me is if I've got serious bidders in the room and it seems like they're just running everything up real fast, we'll do what's called fishing, where I'll take an auction item that might only be worth $6,000, for instance, and I'll start the bidding on that one at $5,000. I won't start it low to get the engagement to see if it runs up, because this is like halfway through the auction. I'm like, people are going nuts for this stuff. I'll throw out the number that I'm trying to get to and start running it up from there. So that question prompted what I was trying to remember. So thank you for that, Francesca. Yeah. But as far as setting the prices and the increments, most fundraising auctioneers that I know, we don't do that. We do that on the fly ourselves, and it's based off of the engagement that we get. So for us, you guys are probably in the nonprofit world, you've probably heard how we all use the bell curve. I'm assuming you've heard that, Trevor, too. So in the auction
explain
world,
it to me. Yeah.
People in the auction world, they have this great item and it's going to be the most expensive item. And they think, okay, we're going to save that till the end of the auction. And the reason we don't do that is because there's always underbidders. There's always people that lose that item. If you wait till the very end and everybody's going after that same item, what happens to those underbidders? They do not necessarily transfer over into the paddle raise. They're not always the same bidder. You just lose that money. So you got to figure out how to do it perfect. So the best structure for a live auction is you put the most expensive items right at the middle, the top of the bell curve. So you warm them up with a fire starter, and we can talk about that in a second. You come up to the most expensive item and you give them stuff to bid on the way down, so that if your underbidders lose out, then they still have an opportunity to bid. So as far as increments are concerned, I'm not going into an auction thinking, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go in $250 increments, or I'm going to do this and I'm going to go in a $500 increments. I say that, but I do know, like, if this is a $3,000 item, then yeah, I'm probably going to go $1,000, $1,000, $1,250, $1,500, $1,750, $2,000, maybe like that. But I kind of do that on the fly. And then when the bidding's extreme, that's when we're throwing out the fishing. We're going to try to get those bigger numbers in order to cut down the time that you're like doing all the bid calling. So I don't go into an auction thinking I'm going to set these increments and not stray from them, because I don't do that.
It can't be scripted that deep, I don't think, for the event, right?
And also, And also, this is a difference in our world, but a proper fundraising auctioneer, when we're looking for those $1,000 increments and we're hitting the 9,000 now, 10,000, we're going to go 10,000 and they're not going to 10,000, I might half that and go 9,500, come back in 9,500. And if you can do that, and you'll see good fundraising auctioneers, when they do that and you have a bidder that has bowed out and then you half the bid, you'll start them all back over again and you'll go run up another 4, 5, 6 bids. It's great.
All the more reason to have a professional fundraising auctioneer for your event. All the more reason. No, it's so true. It leaves so much money on the table, so much opportunity. Speaking of opportunity, hopefully not wasted, I'm a big believer in using the auction as a way to create, and this is like a tagline I've come up with in 2026.
Okay.
New opportunities with donors every step of the way. You mentioned something very interesting. Let's just say it's not an item like an HGA item where you can sell it 5, 6, 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an item that was, built out by the committee. It's fantastic. It's an experience and this and that. And we've got paddles in the air at $5,000, but the folks didn't win. And let's just say they've never been to your event before.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking to the audience, or what can you say to the audience? What are you coaching your organizations that you work with about how to identify those people in the moment, how to re-engage them with maybe another item that might be in the silent that's of higher value, how to make sure that, because they, this happens a lot at a lot of events, folks, even if you don't realize it. So if you don't realize it, please realize it now, that if you're getting bids for items at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and the folks don't win, whether it's the silent auction, live auction, or anywhere in between, and they've never been to your event before, you just identified a new mid-level, quote unquote, I'm not big on labels, but you get my point, mid-level donor that could potentially become a lifelong donor, especially if they come to 3-year events in a row, right? As we know, that's the golden rule there. But how do you engage to make sure that I'm not saying like to get the money because it's there right now, things like that, but how are you coaching up folks about not missing that opportunity, Dan?
Yeah. Underbidders are oftentimes overlooked. And people think when they're gone that they're just going to give the money in the paddle raise. It doesn't always work like that. I mean, a good way is to engage them post-auction. That's not always going to work though, where you're like, hey, you missed out on this item. You can come back in. But it would actually take a physical person watching the audience who understands bidder psychology and what they're doing and recognizing that underbidder and then going to them afterward and saying, hey, I saw that, you missed that Mexico trip at $5,000. If you've got flexibility on it, you could still find them. Maybe one that's a little bit less. Maybe it's not an all-inclusive, but it's still a trip to Mexico and they can get it for half price. That would be cool. Or just going back to them and be like, hey, I know you missed out on the trip for $4,000 or $5,000 in the auction. We could still really use that donation. Would you be willing to maybe come back in at 5,000? Because you can do the work for a fundraising auctioneer. Even if I lose it, there's still an opportunity that you could get it. And you just go back and be like, hey, you've got flexibility on these. You could go back and say, hey, what about if we could offer it to you for your last bid? Would you
your last bid? Meet them where they're at is what we call it.
Yeah, meet them where they're at. Don't try to get them to come up. In the fundraising space, we do that a lot when we're selling multiples. And I can always recognize who I believe to be not engaged, great at being a fundraising auctioneer, because they'll try to get the underbidder to come up in order to sell the multiple, whereas you don't do that. If the underbidder's in at $5,000, you're looking for $5,500, and you don't get you got 5,000, I got 5,500 here. Will you go 6,000? And they're not coming back in. They're bowed out, right? Well, you knew you had them at $5,000. So you just roll it back and say, hey, you liked it at $5,000. How about this? You're going to get one for $5,000. You're going to get one for $5,000. And then you sell them both and there's no question. They were already in. There's no backing out when you've already bid, right? But if you're like, oh, they'll do 6,000. If you'll come up $6,000, well, now you've asked this guy to come up and he's already bowed out or she's already bowed out. So you just say, you get one and you get one, done.
The writing's on the wall, right? You know where they're at.
Who else wants one?
Sandy brings up such a good point. Hey, by the way, everybody, thanks Sandy in the chat if you don't mind, or shoot her an email or shoot her a connection or a message, a DM on LinkedIn. Sandy's the one that makes all this possible, by the way. So, and Sandy is a prolific fundraiser as well. She just happens to be part of the HGA family now. So, and once again, makes all this possible. She said, we used to have volunteers take champagne to the underbidders as a thank you.
Oh, that's great.
And so Sandy was with Breakthrough T1D, formerly JDRF. for 18 years. Hopefully I'm not misspeaking, Sandy. And is a great fundraiser, world-class fundraiser as well. And my big thing was, and I know it's not money in the door necessarily, but if you have an opportunity to meet someone face to face, people buy from people they like, right, Dan?
That's right.
People give to people they like. It's the same thing. I'm not trying to connect the dots with sales and all this good stuff. But and another thing is people like to do business with people they like. People like to get invested with people they enjoy. If you're a CEO, executive director, board member, all the above, development staff, doesn't matter, volunteer, and someone that has never been to your event before put their paddle up at $3,000, $5,000 and didn't win, champagne is great. But making sure they understand that you're grateful and meeting them is massive. And people remember that kind of stuff forever. That's the ultimate differentiator.
Yeah.
A handshake, a thank you. If you don't know what to say thank you. That's a great start.
Thanks for running up the other bidder.
Exactly, right? I mean, I've done that at events before too, and I've gotten so much joy to doing that at events before. It's so good.
Thanks for running up the competition.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thanks for dropping that in there, saying that's awesome. That's gold. I think anytime you can get folks, once again, a gift like that, it means the world to people, regardless of their capacity. Okay. Kenzie followed up, and I want to get some thoughts about timeline, and we got to get into telling multiples and Dan's famous term, who else wants one? Our current schedule, Kenzie followed up. Thanks so much again, Kenzie, for sharing. It's great to see you. Our current schedule is doors open at 5, meal at 6, entertainment, live band at 7. The evening ends at 10:30. That's a long evening. I'm just saying that out loud for just to get going. Our silent auction, which starts a week prior to the event, ends at 10. And we have a live auction during the first band break. And we're thinking of having our first paddle raise during the second band break. Thoughts about it? Sounds like breaking it up. So what do you think? What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, great question, Kenzie. I am quite opinionated about this, so I do have an answer for you.
You go.
Yeah, you do. First of all, I'm assuming, are they music related? Is this organization music related? Kenzie, I don't know if you can answer me that in the chat.
Great question.
A lot of people are doing live bands, but they're waiting till the very end as kind of, hey, thanks everybody, time to dance. So no, it isn't just entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay. What I would recommend is pushing the band to the end. Now, if they want to play some warm up music during the cocktail hour, that's where you would do it. But I wouldn't have them doing it during dinner. I think during dinner, you need to have soft music because you got to give your guests an opportunity to talk to each other. One of the worst things you can do for your fundraiser, we'll get to this in just a few minutes time, is doing your whole program through dinner. That was fine pre-COVID. Post-COVID, people just wanted to talk to their friends. They wanted to socialize. If you don't give them that 20 minutes during dinner, then I'm going to lose them in the live auction. And I'm pretty darn entertaining, and it is hard to get people back if you don't give them time to talk. So that would be my first thing is think about where you're going to have the band. I would just use them in the cocktail hour, and I would use them post-auction. As far as splitting up the live and the paddle raise, I always tell my people, once I'm on stage, I don't come off until I've pulled the last $100. So the only thing I do to break up my live and my paddle raise is right in the middle is we do the mission moment. That's where you're going to play your mission video. That's where you're going to have your speaker, somebody that's engaging for about 3 minutes. And then I don't even use a transition. If there's an MC, they don't even get to come back and say, oh, and now let's bring Dan back after this mission moment to do the paddle raise. I don't even use that. I come straight back myself and I go straight into my ask. So I would recommend not breaking up any of your fundraising, because once they are in that giving mentality, we don't want to distract them with anything else until they've given their last cent.
Yeah. And then I'm going to put your business in the street again, Dan. Kenzie, if you want to follow up with Dan about this and get in the weeds, spend another half hour. Sorry, I'm speaking for your time, Dan. But
I love it.
Please do so. I think that'd be great, Kenzie. It would definitely be worth your time. And then I think we should do like this timing thing seems to be obviously this timing thing, our world. It seems to be a hot topic. We should do like a panel discussion. I'm going and tease that right now. Sandy, let's do a panel discussion about the paddle raise, timeline, fund and need, and just keeping these things concise. And then I want to just put tie a bow on that, Kenzie, is we're hearing a lot of folks that are like, hey, if folks want to stay and listen to the band and dance, do that after the fundraising is over. Do you agree with that, Dan? I mean, it's like, if folks will stay, if they want to party, I'm the kind of person, I fall asleep at like 9:30 every single night. if we have a sitter and it's a Friday or a Saturday, like I got to get out, right? But if I want to stay and party in Wang Chung with everybody, fantastic. Give them the opportunity to do that. Yes, I did say Wang Chung. And that's the first time it's ever been dropped on the Hey Nonprofits channel.
Yeah. Hey, let me offer
everybody
something
Wang
else,
Chung
Kinsey.
tonight. Yeah.
I want to offer something else to Kinsey too, because I think a lot of nonprofits don't really think about this. But as far as the program is concerned, when should your auctioneer get on stage? If you're doing a seated dinner, the best time to get your auctioneer on stage, and I'm speaking for a lot of fundraising auctioneers because I know we all kind of do the same thing, but it's really when that last plate is dropped or when that last person is enjoying their dinner. The reason we do that is typically around about like 8:30, for instance. We always say anytime you get an auctioneer on stage past 9 o'clock, you're starting to lose money. But if you can get them on stage as that last plate has been dropped, what you're doing is you're going straight into the fundraising without causing a natural break where people would get up and go to the restroom or go back to the bar. So if you're on stage, they'll sit there and they'll remain there to the end of the program. If you let them finish dinner and there's this lull for 15 minutes, you're going to lose half your audience to the bar or going to the restroom. So get your auctioneer on stage around about 8:30 as the last meal has been dropped.
Love it. Love it. Concise, and stick to it. Stick to the timeline. Don't give someone a microphone like me that will just ramble. Hey, a couple of things. Hey, a call for questions. Great questions. Great feedback, everybody. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to spend about 5 minutes talking about selling multiples. Who else wants one? I want to spend about 5 minutes, Dan, talking about the gala killers. You have of the pitfalls we want folks to avoid. We're not going negative on you guys, but definitely want to talk about that for about 5. And then, hey, everybody, stay till the end. We're going to give away $1,000 in HGA bucks that you can use towards a live auction item of your own. It's going to include a coaching session with Jason Ledlow, my best friend and co-founder of HGA Fundraising and Hey Nonprofits. And then, as mentioned, at any time, you can reach out to Dan. So Sandy put Dan's website, and then you also have his LinkedIn profile. He's prolific on LinkedIn as well. So, Dan, let's talk about your famous line. We just dropped that episode about it on Hey Nonprofits on the podcast.
Right,
yeah. Who else wants one? So let's talk about selling multiples in general, just the framework for folks that they've never even considered that. And then talk about your very scientific approach to who else wants one. Sandy put up a poll question as well. Does selling multiples, which typically has a cost associated with it, take money away from your paddle raise? Oh, good. Well, we'll let the audience answer that, and I want to get Dan's opinion about that as well. But Dan, talk about just the framework of grabbing an item, selling multiples, all that good stuff for folks if they've never heard of it before.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. And I can actually answer. I saw Bonnie, you popped your question up. I can answer this in 60 seconds. She said, event starts at 6 p.m. It's not a plated meal. When do we start the live auction in this case? In that opportunity, you want to give your audience members at least an hour and a half that they can socialize, they can drink, and they can do all that. But basically, when you start your program and you go through your executive director speaking, hey, this is what we're doing here. This is why we've come to the night. You go straight into your fundraising following that. So the night is about the fundraising, and people that throw party planners versus people that do fundraising understand that you cannot give them too much of a gap or you're going to lose them. So Bonnie, to answer your question, I'd go straight into the fundraising after you do the cocktail hour, allow people to have a little socializing, and then do your fundraising. All right. You ready for who else wants one?
Let's go.
Okay. In a live auction, we always do things like on the lower level, we'll do what's called a fire starter. That's typically an easy item that can get people warmed up. It's a low cost item. We're running about $1,000, maybe a little bit more. You could do $100 increments. It's just to get the engagement. And then you work your way up and then you come down on the back end. Now, on the front end of that, you're going to sell multiples. Well, not multiples. You're going to sell something like double ups, right? You're going to sell something twice. It might be a little bit more of an expensive trip. Maybe it's $6,000. You're running, or Africa or Italy, Cortona, Italy or something. You guys got a great package for that.
Or it could even be like a donated item though, Dan, that you could sell twice.
It could
like a buy-in dinner, for instance.
A chef dinner. A chef dinner's great. Yeah, we'll get those up to $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. Sell it twice. You get one, right? But a multiple is something that I would say 9 times out of 10, it is an item that you would get through a company like HGA, and then you'd be able to sell as many as you want. The reason we do that is because in a live auction, you're only talking to a small percentage of the audience, right? If I'm doing 5 to 7 items, I would only have 7 items. If I didn't have something I could double up, and if I didn't have something I can multiple. But if I can multiple something and the crowd's into it and they're super engaged, then I can sell that thing a dozen times. I can take my 7 items and it turns into 17, 20 items. And that's a lot of money to be captured. Yeah. So the way Who Else Wants One works is a lot of fundraising auctioneers, when we get to the call to action, we're just going to say bid cards up. Right? Who Else Wants One is a social proof. And I just do this. I learned this from a sales organization 20 years ago from one of my trainers. So it's not something I came up with, because a lot of auctioneers, I just want to make that clear, a lot of auctioneers come away with saying, bid now, bid cards up. But if you just add in Who Else Wants One, it becomes way more engaging. This is how it works. You take an item like HGA's Fiesta in Mexico, for instance. It's a great value item. I think it's like $19.95.
$2,000. Yeah.
$2,000. So I would typically want to cap that about $4,000 before I do a Who Else Wants One, but I need to establish the value of that item. So I'm going to come into it saying, hey, you get to go to all these places in Mexico. What would you normally pay for a all-inclusive $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, right? And then I start the bidding and I'm rolling fast. And I'm just going through 3,000, 3,500, 4,000, 4,500, because people are engaged, right? If I set the established value of this thing, I'll run it up to $6,000 and I'll say, tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to roll this back. You're going to get one for $4,000. You're going to get one for $4,000. And that's what we call setting a fixed price. So I've established the value and now I've set a fixed price. The reason we do that is because earlier on when I was talking to you about transactional versus philanthropic bidders, and they don't always cross over, right? What I've done now is I've taken that philanthropic bidder who was never going to bid in my live auction, and I've given them a reason to bid because I've capped the price, and now it's become a buy it now. They don't have to compete with anybody. All they got to do is put up the bid card. So I've established the value, I've set the fixed price, and now I'm going to ask for the sale. So I've sold it to bidder number 1, sold it to bidder number 2, and I'm, instead of just saying, hey, bid cards up, which is a call to action, I'm going to say, who else wants one?
Yeah.
You get one. Bidder 108, you get one for 4,000. Bidder 117, you get one for 4,000. Who else wants one? Yes, bidder 123, you get one for 4,000. Who else wants one? Bidder 111, you get one. Who else wants one? And you're just doing that, and you're getting the engagement because now it's social proof, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they got one. Oh, they got one. Who else wants one? I want one. So it's just an add-on for fundraising auctioneers out there who normally just say, hey, bid cards up, $4,000. And that's exciting. But instead of just calling out the numbers, try throwing in a who else wants one, and you'll see your numbers go up.
I love
That's
it.
it.
I love
Simple.
it.
3-part strategy. Establish the value, set a fixed price, ask for the sale.
Am I wrong in thinking that you mentioned something about how that allows folks that maybe had trepidation about putting their bid card in the air, maybe they've never even been to the event before, will be more willing to do so because other folks are doing it as well? Is that a part of the social proof as well?
It is, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is. So what I was talking about was eliminating the whole barrier to getting into the live auction because they're nervous about competing against other people. But we've all done eBay. So we all know about buy it now. So we do MacBid or whatever it is. And so we know what a buy it now is. And so all I'm doing is saying, hey, everybody, this is a buy it now. And then the who else wants one is not just a call to action. The who else wants one makes people feel comfortable of the social proof of, oh, there's other people around me doing it. I want to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A quick question follow-up from Jake. Jake, thanks so much. How much razzle-dazzle one-liners banter do you incorporate into your bid calling and when talking between items? That sounds like a question from an auctioneer.
Yeah, that's definitely a fundraising auctioneer. Give them the old razzle-dazzle. Jake, I am not an auctioneer that stays on stage. So I know there's a lot of them out there. And typically I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just saying when you get a lot of auctioneers who sell real estate or personal property or they do cattle or car, those people typically stand on stage because they are used to accepting bids. Everybody in their audience knows how to bid. And so they're just standing on stage and allowing those bids to come to them. A fundraising auctioneer, which you sound like you're a proper fundraising auctioneer, knows that they got to go chase bids. So they need to be in the auction. They need to be making people feel comfortable. We're more like conductors than we are like fast bid callers, right? We're letting people know you're in, you're out kind of thing. So what Jake's asking, how much razzle dazzle, one-liners, banter, I do a lot of that throughout my auctions. I'm messing with people. They're messing with me. I do not make people feel uncomfortable. I don't make fun of them and be like, oh, your shoes are worth more than that. Or I know a lot of auctioneers do. Your watch is worth more than that. Yeah. I don't do any of that stuff. So nothing I do makes people feel uncomfortable, but I am trying to engage them the whole time. And I'm messing with them and making jokes. So I do a lot. There's your answer. A lot.
I love it. I love it. Great question, Jake. Thanks so much. Hey, man. I want to get into. We got a handful of minutes left. I want to get into Sandy. Sandy, before we go, will you put the winner, please, of the $1,000 in HGA bucks? I'm tech free right now because of the phone. I'm tech. There's no phones right now, so we can't communicate as far as the winners. I'm not going to call anyone live on the air today, but Sandy will put the winner in the chat, and we'll announce that before we go. But Dan, we got about 3-4 minutes left. Let's talk about pitfalls to avoid at your next live auction, if that's enough time, brother.
Yeah, that's enough time. We can go through these very quickly. All right.
Okay, let's talk about it.
The short of it, everybody, is bad sound, low lights, long programs. So, and I've had a lot of experience with this. Bad sound is the worst thing. And a lot of times a good auctioneer is going to ask you, what kind of sound are you running? Is it going to be house sound or is it going to be external speakers? External speakers are always best, not house sound. House sound is meant for venues that are just going to make PA announcements. An auctioneer or your MC or even your speakers that are going to talk, they need external speakers, and it needs to be total surround sound. You want to give everybody in the room the ability to hear everything at all times and not just coming from above you. Bad sound can ruin an event. So you got to be careful with that. I do an auction in Charlotte. For the last 6-7 years, we have blown the goals out of the water every year after year after year. They changed the venue. We went to a venue using bad sound, and it was so bad. And my wife didn't come to any of my fundraisers anymore because I do too many, and she's just been to all of them. But she came to this one because it's a good event, and she liked it. And she was sitting in the back, and she said, I couldn't hear a word from anybody, and I couldn't hear a word from you. And we barely made goal, and that is unusual for this group. Bad sound to kill it.
Yeah.
So that's the first one.
Bad sound, bad lighting.
Yeah, bad lighting. Good example. I got 2 quick examples for this. One, I went to an event for a national fundraiser. I was there as a guest. I was not the fundraising auctioneer. They had hired an international champion auctioneer. He was a great bid caller. He had clearly done fundraisers before because he knew all the jokes and stuff, and he was very good at it. But he made a critical error that I looked at it and I was like, you're a good fundraising auctioneer, but I would have absolutely smashed your numbers. And his error was he let them leave the dinner lights so low that it was like practically dark in there when he was doing his fundraising. And really what you should be doing is you should be turning the lights up 3/4 lights. It should come up. There should be a big difference between your dinner lights and then when the fundraising starts. It needs to be enough that people are like, oh, something's happening, right? If they're not getting that, I'm not talking about turn the lights on full brightness, like get out of the club, but 3/4 lights so that you have them up. Very important. I didn't tell that national organization. I'll tell this one because this one ended on a positive note, but I did an event for American Cancer Society in Charlotte, and the venue, it wasn't the fault of ACS, but the venue, the lights had shorted on the outside. And so it put everybody in my wings in the dark. And I said, we've got to figure this out. And they actually have I got to remember her title here, strategic director of events that goes to all of their organization galas. Yeah. And I was like, we got to fix this because you got my bidders in the dark and it's going to be very difficult for them to gauge. And they had the band before the auction fix the lighting of the band, and they turned the lights out and shown it on the people in the wings. And we had a hugely successful fundraiser. So they did it right because they know that you got to please the fundraising auctioneer and you got to like help them help you make the most money you can. So low lights,
long timeline,
long programs. Yeah.
Long program.
Gone are the days of keynote speakers and Q&As. I'm not a fan of them. You got to be very careful about that. You get the Q&A becomes all about the organization. And it's very important that you transfer your mission. If you get a good fundraising auctioneer and you got an executive director and you've got a speaker, all of your missions should be transferred to the audience. Plus they should know who you are coming into it. But when you put up a Q&A or you do a keynote and that keynote's running all through dinner and you didn't give the people time to socialize, you've got a good chance of beating your audience to death before the fundraising starts. So you got to be careful. And I did one.
Are you recommending like video, Dan, just for brevity?
Yes, I would say video and whoever is your impact speaker for the night. So you usually have somebody very engaging that can talk about the mission, that can talk about how it changed their lives. You know, that should be like 3 minutes right between the live and the paddle raise. But your executive director or somebody from the organization should tee all that up and live speak to your audience when the program starts or right before the fundraising. Keynotes, as fun as they are, I just don't think that it's the right venue doing a fundraising event, gala setting to bring in a keynote. I've had a rough experience where a keynote went way too long, and it went so long that I pulled the executive director aside, and he had become a friend of mine because I'd done their event several years. And I said, I need you to get back up there and do a rah-rah speech before bringing me back. Otherwise, we're going to tank. And he did it, and he delivered it, and we crushed it. But it could have been very bad.
Okay. All right. Good. We got to everything. We got to everything.
2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock this time. I got to go to a fundraiser tonight.
Oh, hey, man. Well, hey, safe travels to your event tonight. And can't thank you enough. You're absolutely welcome to come back anytime, Dan. You know that. Yeah, everybody, do us a favor. Round of applause and thank Dan for us. Reach out to Dan once again on LinkedIn. Connect with him. Hey, everybody, real quick. Today's winner, Bonnie Bronson of Dowling Catholic Foundation. Right on. Cool. Hey, Bonnie, thanks so much for coming. That's awesome. You rock. You won $1,000 in HGA bucks you can use towards an auction item for your next event, and you get the one-on-one coaching session. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Appreciate you. Sandy, appreciate you. Dan, awesome. That was so good. We got to do it again.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
what great questions.
Good
that
questions.
Was awesome. Yeah, hey, look at all this. Oh, everybody, thank you so much. Thank everybody for coming. Hey, next week, same time, same channel, Ask Us Anything with a special guest. So submit questions. You'll get the invite probably Monday, if not sooner. And we'll see you all next Thursday. Like I said, same time, same channel. Thank you so much. Dan, thanks, man. Appreciate you, brother. That was Trevor. Awesome. All right.
Thanks for having me, everybody. We appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you all soon. Okay, have a great Thursday and a great weekend. And happy fundraising, everybody. Thanks so much.